Hey, it's Filet, and you're watching Filet TV, the ultimate YouTube channel. I'm no cinematographer, just a dude with a camera, and I love yuccas. Okay, we are in the yucca garden. We just got through cleaning up all these plants, and now we're going to take a look at some of these smaller plants in the 1 gallons, and we're going to put those into groups and get them planted. So if this is something that you're interested in, let's get started. All right, I'm back in the yucca growing field and I'm getting ready to start transplanting some of these larger ones into these 5-gallon pots. But I wanted to show you guys something because I've got a couple comments about people's yuccas not doing good in terracotta. Now, I've got a couple of big terracottas here and these seem to be doing pretty well because they've been in here for 3 to 5 years or something, you know, and they get watered regularly. Now, if you come deep into the growing fields here, you can see how all of these are just doing spectacular, except the one that's in a terracotta pot. Okay, it's the same age as these. They've been growing in the same place as these, but it's been in a terracotta pot, and the pot just does not hold the moisture like these nursery pots. So this soil feels nice, and this soil quite a bit drier. So I'm getting ready to get in here, and I'm going to try and figure out if I'm going to do these in groups of 1 or groups of 3, and never groups of 2, just 1s and 3s. But you can see I got some 3s here, and they will grow their own pups. So my decision is, do I take the bigger ones and have them grow as individuals and put the small ones together? We'll see. Either way, I'm gonna get in here, we're gonna get some of these cleaned up, and we're gonna make a couple more little kind of arrangements of 3 and singulars. Stay tuned. The experiments will continue. Okay, basically this is what we've got going on. So I buy these buckets online. I found a dude that had a ton of them for $1 a piece, so I bought a bunch of them. What I'm gonna do is just put a hole in each corner here, and that'll give it just enough drainage to where it's not gonna fill up. So these are the 3 plants that I'm gonna be using here. Yep. So these are the 3 plants I'm gonna be using. I'm just gonna shake the leaves out. And then these have probably been 6 or 8 months in here. You can see, let me get these all out. We got quite a bit of roots going on here. So I'm just going to get a ton of the soil off of it, off of each one. Just so it gives us a little bit more room. And then I'm going to just kind of trim the bottoms. Also to give us a little bit more room. And then basically just going to line these 3, and I kind of want to angle them so they point out a bit. That's basically it. Now the reason why I want to point them outward is so they're going to grow and then they'll follow the sun and start pointing up. If I had them all standing up straight, then they're all going to gather in the center and you're not going to have that expansion. Then the next thing I do is I throw a bunch of wood chips in here because my neighborhood birds and squirrels will come in here thinking that there's fresh dirt, there's got to be fresh food in there. So that's basically the only reason why I put it in there. And it kind of keeps the sun off of the soil. And so basically that's it, to put it into groups of 3. There's a couple more there. And as you can see how I've tried to flare these out a bit, they will correct themselves as they go along. Okay, let's dig through here and see what else we could find. I still got a couple more buckets and still got plenty of soil. So I'm gonna put a couple more groups together. For the first round, we've got our groups of 3. As you can see, I was able to accumulate enough to do 4 buckets. And then we're gonna take a look and see what else. So the next step here is I just wanna put 4 little drain holes in here. 1 on each side, because I don't want it to drain too much, but I want it to have at least a couple holes so it doesn't turn soupy. And the idea is that if all the water drains out, it's that much more often that I have to, add water. So with it being this deep, it's going to take a while for that water to seep out. So I can go ahead and give it a good water, and I know that water is going to last sometimes for weeks. So like I said, just a few holes is really all I need to do. And on my dollar buckets, it's not going to be an issue at all. With the holes drilled, and simply put them into place and allow them to grow. And then I dug this one up, and you can see this is one of the stumps from the previous videos, and it has a small one growing. So my guess is that this was probably in a bigger pot and it wasn't doing so well, so I transferred it back into a small pot, or it was one I had left over that I put a baby pup in there. So I'm gonna go ahead and repot that one, and then I'm gonna take the terracotta that you see. It's dated 6/13/2020, so that's exactly 2 years ago, just by chance. And all the rest of them that were in terracotta got put into those landscaping pots. So I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing into a nice pot so we can get it to grow. And I'm gonna dig through here and see what else I can find. It's been pretty interesting so far. Before the sun starts blaring, I kind of lined everybody up for, the family group photo. So I'm putting all the ones here with the multiple groups that were the yucca stumps. I'm putting them in front and gradually going to the taller ones. Everybody's been stripped down. I've made new groups of 3. I still have some small ones in 1 gallons sitting around that I'm going to go through. I'm starting to find some interesting things. And going back and looking at one of my other videos, I'll try and post a couple of pictures and a link in here. These, remember I was telling you about terracotta, does not work. And I remember why these weren't doing so well, because they were also in terracotta. I'm gonna try, like I said, post a couple of pictures. So I did wind up putting these into pots, and I left this one by itself because I wanted to continue watching how bad it was doing. And this one came back to life nicely. So what I'm gonna do, instead of just putting this in, in the square pot for commercial use, I am going to transplant this into a round pot and keep an eye on it. Because the ones for commercial use are in square pots and personals are in round pots. I didn't want to put this into a large pot, but maybe I will do that because that looks pretty cool too. All right, I'll be back. And here's what I wind up with on this one. I wound up adding one more small one here. So we have our groups of 3 plus groups of 3 at the top. Actually groups of 4 or 5 on the top. Wow, that's great. Those will be harvested. I'm gonna repot this dried out old yucca that was in this terracotta pot forever and not doing so good. So what I did is labeled it terracotta repot, put today's date, and I'm gonna keep an eye on that. So I also put it in a little bit larger of a pot than the regular 1 gallons, just again, so I can keep an eye on it. In my next video, we'll take a look at it and see how it's doing. As far as this one, I remember repotting this one just a few months ago, so I'm gonna put this one aside and save it for another project. And there it is, all potted up, the leaves cleaned. I'm gonna give it a good water and go park it back in the shade. Over here where I can keep an eye on it. All right, there we go. We're gonna call this one quits because I can see the sun's coming out and there's not gonna be any shade for me to film in. So, hope you guys enjoyed this video as well. Everybody's back in line. I'm gonna work, next step is to work on these, and also the mother plants over here need to be cleaned up. So that's it. Thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. And I continue on this journey with my I Love Yucca series. Thanks for watching, philatv.